I don't like it here, so.
Rattler. Should
Yeah, right up here. Right next to it.
Isn't it all?
I guess Steve's gonna sit with you.
Yeah.
Right in the front.
Right up here.
Here's the big sister's that kid.
Yeah. Right.
I guarantee you she's the bad kid.
I was getting her off of this.
Yesterday he goes, there's a pamphlet, and I go, I don't know what that is. Like, what?
I looked at her, I was like, what? And then I picked it up and I shook it at her. Pamphlet?
I do know what that is. Yeah.
If y'all haven't noticed, I'm a little bit on the sarcastic side.
You'll get along great.
And also, if you haven't noticed, I tend to drop an F-bomb occasionally, so
Yeah, he just did.
hopefully nobody's offended.
I feel like you
I'm
tear
not
it
the only one who does it sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get along great.
I know, I'm just like, Jesus,
It's in the right place.
It's
Yeah,
just-
it's a word that can even come
It's
this.
all something.
You know, there's all not do that.
It works.
I have. I don't say as ed. I know, like, those people get to roll on you.
Yeah. you know, I like it.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of places to edit it, so you have to go all the way to edit.
Like, you're my.
Feel like
I'm your
teacher.
toes off, like, tell me about my-
Handouts.
And our teachers do this.
Well, if it's like
Okay,
more-
just Brian
it's
said
like
that
more-
it's at least a third of my salary.
Well,
it is a.
Did you already get this? I did, yes, I have. I said it on a couple of people like this, because I knew that. I just couldn't remember if I found hers. I got skin on it, like decorated, and. Cool. And it has a piece of me. Nope. But one of my friends did.
I really love that.
They made it for me when I was like in like ninth grade in high school. And I still have it.
And I wear it.
And I don't wear it when it doesn't even match. I
Yes,
just
it does.
like,
Yes, it does. You'll be with me in the front.
yeah, you got front row seat.
And then I was like, I feel really.
Nice to meet you. I am so privileged. You should get extra for talking about.
I might have forward it to my.
I know, like, here we go. Look, he's in the very front.
Front row
of the
movies.
movie.
Oh my God. the worst.
Yeah. You're done, like, when you're done.
It's so weird.
Warren Theater's on foreclosure.
Yeah, my film career is not.
The one in Midwest City already got foreclosed on. I don't know about the one in Moore, but the one in Midwest City got foreclosed on already.
Yeah, because I've been on Amazon Prime and stuff like that,
Right.
and brand new movies. So-
Yeah, movie theaters are in trouble.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, I think I'm gonna go, I'm sad.
I hope not. I love going to movies, but you know, I also like Blockbuster, so I don't know.
So like, I'm not.
Are you old enough to remember Blockbuster?
Mom never let me get in there. Never, it's way too expensive.
I have not taken my daughter to the movies yet, so if they die, I'm gonna feel so guilty.
Oh.
She's 7, I don't know if she can sit through a movie yet.
You'd be surprised.
My 7-year-old can. She sits through a movie at home. I just don't find her candy at the movie theaters.
Yeah.
I won't
Because
get
that's
it.
whenever they wanna do cartwheels and all that stuff.
I smuggle candy into the movie theater.
Oh,
They
weird.
have popcorn and soda pops there.
Smuggle
I
claw
smuggled
meals.
Meals and dreams.
Yeah, I had my River Tuesday.
Do what?
And I still said I recorded it on.
Yeah.
So all this is being recorded, so it's gonna be used against you in the court of law. You admitted that you sneak candy in. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I think, I don't think we're waiting on anyone else in the group or on the Zoom, so we'll go ahead and get started. I passed out a couple of things for you guys, or I already gave it to you the other day whenever I got them and printed them off. That is a rough guideline of, hey, I got my buyers under contract, now what? So I've been getting that question quite a bit. So I wanted to make sure that everyone that was here at least got it. And Andrea and Kristen, if you don't have it, shoot me a text message and I'll make sure that I email you a copy of it. Again, it's just a now what kind of thing for both buyers and for when you have a listing, once your listing's under contract, now what do I do? You know, it's a common question. It's a good question because you don't want to miss anything. And this is just a guideline of, you know, so like I said, on your listing's under contract. Well, what do I do immediately? Well, communicate with the title company, make sure you turn in the earnest money, stuff like that. And then, you know, on week 2, you should be having the home inspection if you haven't had it already, and the termite inspections, stuff like that. So it's just something to give you guys a guideline. So kind of a checklist, but kind of, you know, more of a paragraph. So it's easier to read and easier to not miss something. So anyways, first question for everyone. How is the scripts? Have y'all looked at them at least? And have you guys met with whoever you guys partnered up with? And is there anyone that needs to partner up with someone?
I wasn't here last Thursday.
Okay. Okay, so what we're doing is I emailed out scripts and I passed a few out last week. And these scripts came from Keller Williams and from some other sources and everything like that. They came from Stephanie. Stephanie emailed them out to everyone that was on the list. So you should have got it, not from me, from Stephanie. And there was 2 scripts in there. One of them is like 14 pages and the other one was like 40 some odd pages. Lots of scripts, lots of buyer objections, seller objections, because I heard some of them practicing it this morning and they were like, one of the things was, well, Zillow says my house is worth this. Why can't I list it for that? Mm-hmm. So some of these are real world things that you're actually going to hear. What I say on the scripts, again, is read them, practice them, turn them into your own, because some of that on the scripts is not how you normally speak. You don't want to sound like you're reading from a script. You don't want to sound like a robot, but turn it into your own. So, you know, read it, practice it with whoever. I know some of y'all are practicing with relatives. Some of y'all are practicing with other realtors, and some of y'all are practicing with people in the class. That's great. Change it up. Change up what scripts you're practicing. Change up who you're practicing with. Things like that, because you're going to get different objections, different ideas, and everything like that. And again, the key is for scripts is not to say, you know, you have to say this word for word, or, you know, you're going to fail with this client or whatever. It's so when someone has an objection, like, well, you're telling me my house is worth $120,000, but the Zestimate says $145,000. What's up with that? So you can actually overcome that objection, talk to them and be like, Well, this is where I came up with this. This is why. This is why you don't use Zillow to price your house. Things like that. So scripts are pretty important. It's something you should do daily. Again, it's practice so you can know how to overcome the common objections that you're going to hear. And, you know, we all hear no, we all hear, but why is this? And we've got to be able to overcome that and talk with them. Otherwise, you know, you're going to miss out on half the business out there that you could have. Okay? So if anyone in here doesn't have a partner yet, I'm going to give you guys like 5 minutes or so. Kind of introduce yourselves around and be like, hey, who needs a script partner? Or who can I talk to? And then exchange phone numbers and kind of figure out when you when you can meet and everything. Even if it's phone calls or Zoom meetings or whatever. You don't necessarily have to meet here in the office every day at 9:30 or whatever. But if you do come into the office, what I would suggest is sneak into one of the conference rooms. Or if it's just two of you, sneak into one of the call rooms over there. That way, you're one, not disturbing anyone else that happens to be coming through because you're talking back and forth. And two, you don't get distracted by whatever else is going on around the office. Because I promise you, I sit over there in that corner, I promise you, stuff is happening all the time. People are walking through, people are asking questions, somebody will bring their dog or their baby to the office or whatever, and it can get distracting. So see if you can, like I said, steal one of the conference rooms for half an hour or one of the call rooms and get it done. Again, there's nothing wrong with talking about the script. Well, what does this mean? Or that's not how I would say that. And stuff like that, and kind of figure it out amongst yourselves. But, you know, we want you to concentrate on practicing the scripts, okay? So take a couple minutes, talk about your scripts, see if anybody else needs to get partnered up with someone else, okay? Go.
You guys already my partners?
Yes, we do.
Are you guys partners with each other?
Yeah, and then it's the girl over there.
You guys are partners? Doing
Yes.
a partner squad? What do you squad?
Yeah, we can be a squad.
Okay, I also feel like I'm not gonna help you, I'm gonna say no matter. I don't think that. I have a lot of kids, so I'm a little bit careful. But a lot of people say, I have to be on that. Do you have a script partner? You guys kind of know each other?
I do that. I don't. Right. And that's what I don't because I'm just trying to. Also, I'd love to meet you too. My name's Hunter. Yeah, that's nice. That's me. Hunter is cool. Yeah. Yeah. It's lasted. It's lasted too.
I like it.
No, it's But,
I
what
think
I do is I don't go into too many questions because my number is desires to get
And
the
my girl.
not to actually know
Get that stuff.
why they
Yeah.
are. So I just want to make them comfortable enough to get my steps through the door to make them not resell down there anymore.
Yeah.
So I just focus on, I want you to succeed in selling your home.
My name is Miranda. M-I-R-A-N-D-A.
Oh, thank
And
you.
then H-I-L-B-U-R-N.
That, I just asked them, why did you choose to do this for sale by owner?
405.
That's as far as I go.
405.
These are, it's,
Yeah.
we just want and be like,
I know.
so, and that's literally that, and I said, well, that's the thing, I completely understand, I really want to see you be successful, no matter like whether you listen to me or not, and I want you to get the most money out of this as possible. So what I can do for you is bring you this. Perspective that shows you the value and what I can do to help you maximize your profit on your property, and if you don't choose to listen to me and want to do this bonus still, it also provides you with tips and tricks that will help you along the way, and you will always have my name and my country to help you. So that's what I.
Do you have an expired one?
I don't know. So with expired, the only thing that I'm doing is I'm finding them and seeing. What's for sale, and then I look at the list on see that you were trying to sell it like and then they're, we're deciding such a statement. And it's CAYE. My daughter is CAYE.
Oh, I love that. See, my movie is AAY, that's why I'm like.
Let's go.
Oh, okay. And I was. And then I was just, okay, thinking, 5 minutes at last. Well, 58 years later, I had the biggest mess. I mean, anything with my social security number business, and what getting it job at first. My school records, I did it to see if I could get the records. Yeah. I got a divorce, I had named that long on there. So, the commission, the real commission report, sure, but like, yeah, like this thing. And I hate it, I hate it, because it's just not my name. When I have to sign, I have to do the contract. I still do my contract with the city. That's why it was too bad. My hands are things that are literally, but now it's about. I was something the other day that I had to say, it had a sheet with the head on it.
And you know, as a buyer, and there is no really from there.
Oh, okay.
No, also, I just, okay, that's
They're
not
not
real,
real.
that's what I'm saying, it's like, I'm trying to use them, I'm gonna.
Okay.
I like your.
I worked in Mansfield.
I just found that's a lot of money, so. That's why you look so familiar.
That was the first one. How do you know that saying? I think I did.
Okay, everybody got that figured out?
Yes, they did.
Again, the scripts that were sent out, that Stephanie sent out, there's plenty of scripts. And it should cover, between the two, should cover everything that you'll need to address. Now, that's just one source. There's nothing that says you can't go and find other sources. And I'm not going to say you can't use YouTube and find some other scripts or anything like that, by all means. It's as long as you make it your own. And everything like that. But I wanted to make sure that y'all saw these scripts and everything, so you'll have at least something. Because sometimes, you know, you may, if you Google it, you may find scripts out there from some random realtor in Michigan that may not necessarily be a great idea. So I know that these scripts are Keller Williams scripts or a program that we are partnered up with, so we know that they're good scripts and you're not saying anything that's going to get you into trouble, basically. So has anyone or everyone seen the Keller Williams tech page? This is basically our intranet website, and it's
Our lifeline?
yes, our lifeline. And in case you need the address, I know it's maybe kind of hard to read on the screen up there, but it's kwmolnextech.com. This can be your homepage, and this is where you can get to a lot of different things, okay? First thing is the Keller Williams Molnex YouTube page. This is where we are going to post, we're working on getting them videos of some of these classes that are being recorded. So if you're like, well, what do I put on the buyer purchase agreement on page 3? And what do I fill in this line? There's going to be a contracts class on there. And the goal is going to be when the camera is focused on the page, and we're going to go over line by line, page by page of how to fill this contract out. So if it's 10 o'clock at night and you're trying to fill out a purchase agreement real quick, and it's something that you're like, well, you know, here's an easy answer, go to this page. So there are some videos on this YouTube page, but not a lot yet. Again, it's something that we are working on. So you can go to this, and then over here, if I can get this to move, see the subscribe button? Subscribe to our page. That way you'll have access to all the videos. All of them right now, there's 5 videos. There's not a lot, but there's going to be some that you may need. DocuSign envelopes. That's an hour-long class. This goes over the envelopes section of DocuSign and everything like that. So the database inside the command, that's an hour and 12-minute long video. And smart plans. Come on, I hit back. And DocuSign details. So there's already some classes in here that you can view that might be helpful for you. And again, we're going to be uploading videos to this. We're going to be adding to this, but I wanted to make sure that y'all saw this, and it might be a resource for you of, you know, hey, well, how do I do this? What do I do with that? How do I do a buyer net sheet again? And everything like that. I mean, it's just, if you ask me about buyer net sheets, to be perfectly honest, I don't do buyer net sheets a lot because I use the app, the First American.
I use Dutch all the time, but it's nice to get.
Yeah, yes.
Or it doesn't work. If you do that, do it on the DocuSign or on it doesn't work. It won't do it totally.
Oh, yeah. So if you have a question about, well, what do I put on this line, or what do we normally put on that line, or how do I figure out this? We're going to have a buyer net sheet on here, video on here, that's going to walk you through step by step. You should know how to do a buyer net sheet. You should know what's all on the buyer net sheet. If for nothing else, so you can answer a question that the buyer's gonna have or the seller's gonna have, because there's a seller net sheet, buyer estimate sheet, seller net sheet. You have to do both or one or the other, depending on who you're representing, with every offer, with every counter offer, and every time the contract changes, you have to do it. If the price is changing or their closing costs are changing, you know, if you have the listing agent and negotiated an extra $500 in closing costs in lieu of making repairs, which happens sometimes, then you got to do another seller net sheet. So I want you to know how to do those, because a seller in particular is going to look through that, and inevitably you're going to have one of those analytical people. They're going to be like, well, what's this? What's this cost? What's that cost? Why am I paying $350 for this? And why am I paying $400 for that? What's this $15 charge? So you're going to need to know what's on there. Because if you just use the app, either the Chicago Title one or the First American one, you're not going to know what you're talking about. And you can't just answer the question, well, it was on the app. It says it's cost this much. Because half of our job is convincing whoever we're working with that we are the experts and we know what we're talking about. So you should know what you're talking about. Just saying. Again, so we're going to be adding to this list. Also on this, you scroll further down, you're going to have, get this out of the way. Book a conference room. If you want to have a meeting with a buyer or a listing meeting with a potential lister, click on this and that's how you book a conference room. So you can be at home, click on this and book a conference room, and you know that that conference room is going to be available when you get to the office.
Where at?
This one right here. Simple, easy. Book it for 30 minutes, an hour, whatever. But that's how you book the conference rooms. The OREC page. This is just a link to the Oklahoma Real Estate Commission page. You may need it. We were on it the other day, yesterday, because I needed to figure out, one of the new agents, she needed to figure out, oh, did I have 6 months to do my class for the, to make it from provisional into the regular real estate, because you got to take that post license class, and they just changed the requirements. Sometime in 2020, they changed the requirements from everyone used to have a year to now everyone has 6 months to finish that class. Right, and they kind of didn't tell people. I didn't know about it.
Yeah, I didn't know about it.
Yeah. So I had to look on there. We had to look someone up with their license number and basically see how long they had, because she was right there, right when they were changing it. And luckily for her, they gave her a year, because if they'd only given her 6 months, she'd have been past it.
But honestly, it changes everything once you have that. I had it at 2 months and I was so glad.
Oh,
Because before that, I was just,
If-
everything was over my head.
It doesn't.
if you haven't taken the post license class,
Yeah.
I'd say it's like this. The pre-license class teaches you how to pass the class, pass the test. The post-license class teaches you how to be a realtor. Because most likely you're not going to need to know that there's 43,560 square feet in an acre. You're not going to know that. Who cares?
Someone tested me once. Yeah, I was like, wait a minute.
Right? But you're also not going to need to know where the Indian Meridian line is and what section this house is and stuff like that. No, I've been a realtor for 14 years. I've never used that.
Or how many bags of mulch Susie will need to go around her house.
Yeah,
Sorry, I don't care.
right? Go to Lowe's and tell them this is how big it is. They will figure it out for you. So anyways, so the post license class, it has things like, has a contract class. It does have the fair housing, again. It does have the ethics, again, because we need it. But it's gonna be a lot of things that you're actually gonna use in your day-to-day business. So if you haven't taken it yet, Peggy's having one the 1st of February. It's at the Elite office. And then she's having another one here at this office the 1st of March. And I'm not sure what the cost is for those. 175? Okay,
Worth it. Versus wonderful.
yeah. Peggy used to be a teacher, so she's real good on the teaching part. So I recommend if you have a choice, if you haven't already paid for the post license class or whatever, try to make it to Peggy's. Because you'll learn a lot.
Where's the one in February?
It's at the Elite office, the Keller Williams Elite office. I believe Elite is up there in Edmond.
I think doing one here in March, to the, at this moment.
Yes, at this office.
I think
So-
it's March 1st to the 5th.
I think she said she would send the sign up sheet.
Yeah.
When it gets closer.
Yeah, when it gets closer, she'll send it out. If you're wanting to plan it, kind of figure out what the plan is, send her a text message. Does everyone have Peggy's phone number? Awesome. Okay. Facebook, we all know what Facebook is. The training calendar, here's what I really want to talk about. This is a link to.
Mine is doing the same thing too, and it won't let me log in.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be a link to the calendar for the education. So it's going to be a month-long calendar, and it's going to show you what all classes are coming up and a brief description of the classes. So while I love that we get the Facebook invites for the classes for that week, sometimes you're like, oh crap, I've got an appointment with a buyer on that day and I can't make it to that class. If I had known ahead of time, I may have been able to change the schedule around. So look at the calendar, the month-long calendar, and kind of on some of those classes that you're gonna need or that you're gonna want to take. That's a good spot to figure it out. Because I know that, for example, I know that on Wednesdays, I don't know if it's every Wednesday, Heather Owens does a tech class, one tech class or another. And she does a lot of command classes. So that's something that you're going to want to go to as often as you can, even if it's a Zoom and you're taking it from home, because command is basically massive. You can do so much that you can run your whole business via command, because you can do Facebook posts, you can do flyers, open house flyers, you can create your database and send emails out through it and track your business and everything like that. So command is something that you're gonna use, and you're gonna have to use command because all of the files and all the contracts have to go through command for compliance. So when you get a buyer under contract, you have to upload those documents once everyone has signed everything and send it to Bob for him to review to make sure that everything is signed appropriately and initialed appropriately and the contracts are filled out correctly. Same thing for a listing. So anyways, we'll figure out what's going on with that. But between this and the Facebook page, that should have all the classes that we're going to have. And I encourage you, I realize y'all have other lives, you have family, you have kids, you're trying to work with buyers or sellers, you're trying to do business, but make it to as many of these classes as you can. Because it's just going to help you. And while I'm here to help, and I am willing to help as much as I can't spend 24/7 with all of y'all, because no, I've got to do some business too. But don't feel bad if you need to text me or call me about something. I'm not saying that at all, but I just can't, I'm not available 24/7. I can't hold your hand and everything like that. So these education classes are designed so you'll know how to do it. Okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, so also on here is obviously the DocuSign. That's DocuSign, in case y'all don't know, is the program that we use to get the signatures on the documents. That's not where we store the documents. You're going to go into DocuSign and you're going to add the appropriate documents for whatever you're doing. Listing agreement, purchase for a buyer, whatever it is that you're doing. You're going to add those into DocuSign. You're going to fill them out and then add the signatures, and then you're going to send it out for the electronic signatures. And then once you get the signatures, you're going to move it over to Command for compliance. And that's where we're really keeping the documents. So just FYI, if you're like me, I've got a listing, and my DocuSign for that particular listing, the envelope on that one has probably 40 or 50 documents in it, because every time I got an offer, the document was sitting there so he could review it and potentially sign it. The seller net sheet was in there so he could review it and potentially sign it and everything like that. So it's going to have all these documents, and it's cloud-based, so don't worry about it. If it gets to be a mess, click on the button, the radio button on the top left-hand corner, and you can archive it. Archiving doesn't delete it. That just takes it off your page so you can't see it. So again, it's cloud-based. You're not going to get rid of anything, but don't worry about that being a mess. What needs to be organized and have all of the signatures on it and what you're officially using for compliance is Command. But that's the brief explanation of DocuSign. And then obviously here's commands, KW Connect, Oakmar's MLS, Tulsa's MLS. This is if you happen to have, if you're paying for access to the Tulsa MLS, this is what you can use to log in there and bring it up. 99% of us aren't going to use that. Yes.
But you can without having like the Tulsa MLS, you can.
No,
maybe use it?
if you click on this, it's going to take you to the login page for the Tulsa MLS, just like the Oakmar's login. You can contact the MLS board and join that board and pay for the access to the MLS. But I think you would have to join the board just like the Norman board, pay their dues, and then also pay the dues for access to their MLS. So you would have to, in order for it to be worthwhile, you would actually have to have some business in the Tulsa area for it to make any sense. 99% of us aren't going to bother with that because I'm not going to sell a house in Tulsa. I'm not going to list a house in Tulsa just because one, I don't know the market, and two, it'd have to be a pretty good commission for it to be worthwhile for me to drive up to Tulsa and back several times. But it's there if you need it. And then what is profit share? That's a video that explains what profit share is. Doesn't explain how to recruit profit share, recruit people to add to your profit share or anything like that. If you want to learn about how to do that, Stephanie offers a class on that. Okay? That is, again, a brief explanation of the tech page. Does anybody have any questions? This may not necessarily be everything that you're going to need to have access to, but there's a large portion of what you're going to need most of the time. Nope. Okay. So I don't have much else for us to talk about. I want to talk about next week. Next week here, I am having a mortgage guy come in to the office, and he is a mortgage guy that I have been using for 14 years. Very knowledgeable about mortgages and about real estate and everything like that. He's going to come in next week and basically give you a spiel of, well, if you're writing an FHA offer, here's what you can expect. VA offer, here's what you can expect. And here's how you fill out the, if you're asking for closing costs, here's how you fill out the page correctly for FHA or VA or conventional or whatever it is. And he'll be available for any generic mortgage questions that you're going to have. And I know that everyone has questions. So he's coming in next week, 11 o'clock, 11 to noon. I don't know that he's going to be talking for the entire time, but he'll be here. And that's Perry Fothery. Again, if y'all have asked me personally for a good mortgage person, I can almost guarantee you he's one of the people that I suggested to you guys. Again, I've been working with him for 14 years. He's very knowledgeable. And also for a mortgage guy, he hits all my buttons as far as if he tells me that they are approved, unless something crazy happens, they're approved. If he says he can do it, he does it, which is important to me for a mortgage person because I had my license in 2006, 7, and 8. And while things were fantastic on the real estate side, on the mortgage side, yeah, not so much. Because you get someone and they'd be like, yeah, they're approved. When they said they're approved, that meant, yeah, they have a pulse. They have a job. I haven't checked anything else. And sometimes that would backfire on us. And I would be like, well, I just wasted 2 tanks of gas and 2 weeks on showing them houses and everything like that. And suddenly they're not approved. Or get them under contract and suddenly, well, this popped up, that popped up, and this popped up. We can't actually get them approved. We can't get the loan to go through. That's not how Perry works. That's not how the group of people that's on their sponsor list up there, it's not how they work. So that's why I use it.
What company is it?
He's with Spur Mortgage.
I have a question about that.
Yes.
What if you already got that pre-approval, you put in your offer, your buyers are like, in the TRR stage where they're negotiating and they've already paid for the inspection's already been done, but they've agreed that they're gonna pay at closing.
Mm-hmm.
And right before closing, oh, you know what, child support thing came up, they can't get approved. Who pays that bill for the, are they still?
For the inspections,
Mhm.
buyer does.
They still have to pay
Yeah.
all of that?
Inspector did their job. It's not the inspector's fault.
The earnest money and everything too,
Then they lose their earnest money.
right?
No, they don't lose the earnest money if they're backing out of the contract based on they don't qualify for the loan anymore.
Okay.
That is an opt-out pretty much all the way up until the day of closing for the buyer.
So when does the earnest money stay with the seller? Like,
When they
At
just,
what point?
when they just change their minds, they just be like, no, I've got cold feet. This isn't really the right house for me, or
So if-
something along those lines.
So-
99% of the time, the buyer's going to get their earnest money back.
You can always find something on inspection.
Always find something on the inspections. Unless they, like you said, the day before closing, well, your inspection period's up.
Right.
You can't back out based on inspections the day before closing. Unless you extended the inspection period to all the way up to closing, which I don't know why a seller or their realtor would agree to that, but you know, it happens.
So like if somebody, puts in a cash offer with the proof that they can pay for it,
Mhm.
and then like we get to closing and they can't pay for it.
They lose their earnest money.
Okay, so that would be.
That's not a valid reason to back out.
Okay,
You
cool.
showed us proof of funds. What's going on? Did you spend the money? What happened? You
Very
know?
specific and not happening, but I just wanted to know if that was the case.
Right.
Something similar like that. So I close next week and, on the 29th, but we don't have proof of funds for
You
my
don't?
buyer until tomorrow. So we are
But
walking.
they accepted the offer
Accepted the offer.
without proof of funds? What happens with that
Well,
then?
she put her earnest money down. She has proof of past stuff, but she doesn't have the money in the bank for like 3 months of. proof.
Well, that's a financing issue.
Okay.
The
The deal isn't
escrows,
ready to roll.
the escrows and what the mortgage company calls, what do they call that? The reserves, they call that reserves.
Oh, yeah, we don't have that until tomorrow.
Yeah, that is not a,
A deal breaker?
well,
'Cause I'm
that's a
like, well, I'm
mortgage,
not-
that's a mortgage
No.
requirement. That's a mortgage requirement.
Okay.
If they say, well, you never did have these reserves, you don't know, well, I can't approve you for this loan anymore, then the reason why they're backing out of the deal is because they can't get approved for the loan. So they can get their earnest money back in that case.
Okay.
Now, nobody's gonna be happy about that.
And then, I don't.
The sellers, yeah, the seller's probably gonna try to fight that, the seller's realtor's probably gonna try to fight that, but
I'll try to find
ultimately, they're backing out because they don't qualify for the loan,
that.
because that's a loan requirement. The reserves is a loan requirement.
Okay.
So in that case, they would, I mean, again, it would be a fight, but they would get their earnest money back, most
Okay.
likely.
And that's why you put the earnest money with our escrow instead of the title company.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. Glad you said that. If you're writing a contract for a buyer, or if you have a list, buyer picks the title company, and if at all possible, we hold the earnest money here at the Keller Williams office. We don't like to hold it at the title company because title companies are not licensed realtors, or they're not necessarily, they're not going to get sued. They're not going to do anything super stupid, but they're not held to the same standards as realtors are and as real estate companies are. So I have seen situations where the deal busted, and without anything in writing, any signatures, any approval, the title company just cut the check to the buyer. And the seller's like, hey, wait a minute. I wanted that earnest money because they didn't have a legit reason to back out. And then we're talking about either lawsuits or, lawyers getting involved or whatever. And that's not something that we want to deal with. So if at all possible, we hold the earnest money. And if you see a listing in the MLS and a realtor says in the listing that earnest money has to be put with this title company or with my office, no exceptions, they can, yeah. They can say that all they want. It's not enforceable. We hold the earnest money if at all possible.
How long do deals, financing, I don't know, like how long do they usually stay in underwriting? I've had mine, for like 10 days and it's driving me crazy.
Depends on the company, depends on the underwriter. Typically, it's only a few days, 4 or 5 days.
Mine's been
10
like 10, and they
10
have
days?
everything.
10 days means, to me, 10 days means something came up in underwriting and they're trying to resolve it. They found something. Something popped up on the credit report, something came up with the appraisal, something came up, and they're trying to resolve the issue on the underwriting side in order to get the loan approved. Again, this is why I use, if at all possible, this is why I use a lender that I know is good and a lender I have a relationship with, because I know that if there's an underwriting issue, that Angie Haig with Cornerstone or Perry, that's usually the two people I suggest to my buyers. One of them is going to call me. I'm going to get a phone call or a text message at the very least and be like, hey, this came up, just to keep you in the loop. We got it solved, or we're working on getting it solved, or whatever the situation is. They're going to tell me what the heck is going on, so I'm just not in the dark and just crossing my fingers and hoping that we actually get this done.
I hope so, because closing is supposed to be on the 29th, and we still need to get signatures all the way from Canada.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, in case y'all haven't noticed, this is the list of sponsors. When I say sponsors, they have sponsored like Brokers Opens for us. They've sponsored Keller Williams events. They've also been vetted by realtors in the office or by Stephanie, something like that, that they are good at whatever service they're providing. So this is where we start when we're having suggestions on, well, who do I send this buyer to for a loan officer? Or what company do I need to use for the professional pictures? What insurance agent do I suggest? Stuff like that. It's going to come up for you guys. These are people that are partnered with the office and that we know have been vetted and we know are good. So if you have no idea who to suggest, start with this list. Try not to let it go to Rocket Mortgage. Try not to let them use A to Z home inspections.
I've got a guy right now, I want to scream.
I do use Allstate, but I have mine.
Is there an inspector up there? Is there an inspector on the wall there?
No.
There is not a home
I mean, I have an
inspector on the
inspector
wall.
I use all the time, but.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Are we good to go? Anybody have any questions?
You know how to use a super key? No.
All right, so
I know, super
You
key.
got me covered?
You gotta bring one in and have
I
it.
did have first struggle, my first open house, just saying, let's have a class.
Me and you went to go find the biggest house in
Yeah, we
Norman.
found the biggest, nicest homes in Norman to practice our super keys.
We're like, let's lock it and open it again.
We're like, let's do it. But we saw some nice houses.
Yeah, we did.
So,
I do know the right houses, they're gonna think I'm breaking in.
And it gives good practice because the real estate agent's small.
I mean, yeah, they got
And
a
then she
car
had
for the time, I got to sneak out of the garage. He just,
She's like, it's such, it is like 800, and she was like, well, it's 999 or whatever. It was like,
Yes.
Sorry, and we're planning to meet after this about 30 minutes. My name's Bianca. We're gonna meet about 30 minutes after this, but I do have to dash.
okay.
She was gonna pick up a certificate for Savannah, who was my main job is Bridges. She won mentor recognition, so I've got to get her certificate and bring it back here. So I would love to meet with you though.
Okay.
Yeah, she
She
told
said
me that
maybe
she
this
would do
first initial meeting would be about 30 minutes.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'll be here.
Okay, all right, well, thank you so much. Good to meet you, and I can't wait to get started.
Great.
See you later.
See ya.
Now, and so there is,
Oh,
feel
yeah.
free to go, so like, it's just young.